this video, I'm going to teach you to play some rhythm for Blackberry Blossom. Obviously, we're going to learn the tune, learn the chords, the chord progression, and some strum patterns and variations. I'll also go over some practice strategies and technique tips as well. All right, let's start with the chord shapes you're going to need. We're going to start with this G chord, right? Most of you probably know this. And a lot of you also probably know there's a couple different ways we can play this G. Each of them have their own benefits. Most people play it this way. Middle finger, 3rd fret of the E string, index finger, 2nd fret of the A, ring finger, 3rd fret of the little E string. You can also play this with your ring finger up there on the big E string, 3rd fret, middle finger, 2nd fret of the A, and pinky down there on the little E string. May seem a little awkward at first, but this one makes for a really easy change to your C chord, as you can see. And this same little shape right here between the middle and ring fingers that's happening between your G and your C, also you can see is in the top part of that D chord, right? So that's a benefit of using that type of G chord shape. The third type and third option possibilities is 4-finger G, more common in like rock and roll. I've heard it called the hippie G because it leads to the hippie C. More common in like modern bluegrass and stuff. I tend to use it a lot. I like the way the switch happens to the D chord where you don't have to move that ring finger. Okay? So all those options work. All of those options are worth exploring, learning all those different types of the G chord. Let's start with one. Let's stick with one. So I'm going to use this type of G chord shape as we go through this. The next we need is the C chord, right? Ring finger, 3rd fret of the A, middle finger, 2nd fret of the D, 1st finger, 1st fret of the B string. We're strumming from the 5th string down. We want to avoid this E string most of the time unless we're doing something fancy. For right now, we're just going to avoid it. The switch for the G to C can be tough when we're doing the G this way. So that'll be something you need to practice. A way to practice that is just by exercising your left hand. Make the chord switch, push down and release pressure a few times. Keep switching back and forth. That's a good little exercise. The next chord we need is the D chord. Hopefully you guys know this, but I'm going to talk you through it anyways in case someone out there doesn't, okay? And if this is super boring, I'm going to mark the different points in the video. You can just fast forward. All right, 1st finger, 2nd fret of the G string, ring finger, 3rd fret of the B, and then middle finger, 2nd fret of the little E string. We're strumming from the 4th string down to the ground, avoiding your E for sure, sometimes avoiding the A, although it's going to be an option later on, okay? Next we need what's known as an A7 chord, kind of a bluesy chord here. We got our 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the D string, middle finger on the 2nd fret of the B string, and we're strumming from the 5th string down the A string. We're going to avoid the big E, although it's going to be an option at some point. All right, just got a few more chords that we need to make sure that you have memorized. You need to memorize these chord shapes. E minor is the next one. Maybe we should have led with this one. It's one of the most simple. 1st finger, 2nd fret of the A string, middle finger, 2nd fret of the D string. We're strumming all strings here. Right, last chord we're going to need is a B7 chord. Again, kind of funky sounding blues chord. Middle finger, 2nd fret of the A, 1st finger, 1st fret of the D, ring finger, 2nd fret of the G, and then if you want to, you can get your pinky down here on the 2nd fret of the little E string. A little bit crowded here, and we're going to avoid this E string for sure, especially playing it open. Right, that's all the chords you're going to need, right? If you need to work on any of those, just pause the video at the points where I'm holding these different chords down and just kind of look and analyze what you're seeing, you know, what finger's on what fret, okay? Middle finger's on the 2nd fret, what string's it on? And as you analyze this, you can just copy the chord shape from seeing the paused picture on the screen there as you watch. Another thing you can do in TuneFox is click on the little chord bubbles above each measure. Now that's going to show you multiple ways to play the same type of chord. Like You might see how to play this normal G, 4-finger G, or even a bar chord. We don't want to be using any bar chords in this song for bluegrass. There's a certain type of sound that we get from certain types of chords, so we really want to stick with these basic open chords like I showed you, these cowboy chords. Another option I didn't think of here until just now, that E minor. You know, we used first finger and middle finger. You could also use middle finger and ring finger there. So middle finger, second fret of the A, ring finger, second fret of the D string. The option or the advantage here for this one is it makes it really easy to go to that B7, right? So that way I'm not having to move the middle finger. And really the only things I'm having to move very much is the ring to the string below. I'm placing that index down on the D string first fret, but it's hovering and ready, right? And also if you're doing this other type of G, it makes it a little bit easier to go back to that if you're using this E minor with this alternate fingering where the middle finger is on your A string. All right, timing. I've written this one out in 2/4 timing, which means we're going to have 2 beats per measure. And the quarter note gets 1 beat. If you don't know what any of that is, do not worry about it. Basically, we're going to be counting to 2 to start off with. In the A section, it's going to switch chords each measure. So it'll sound something like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. All right, we're going to feel the pulse with our body and do some counting. And we'll talk about the order of chords, otherwise known as the chord progression, here in just a minute. But I wanted to focus in on the timing first. So again, counting to 2 for each measure. At first we're just going to do strums, but eventually we'll do some different strumming patterns as well. Again, that's to come a little bit later in the video also. And while we're counting to 2, you know, there's spaces in between 1, 2, 1, 2. And the way we're going to mark those little subdivisions of spaces is by having something else to say in those places, right, to mark those spaces in time. Right, and we're going to use 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and So we got a number, and then we got an E and 1 E and 2 E and Okay, and we might just be counting, leave out the E's and the sometimes, and simplify it. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. Okay, so maybe a little bit unfamiliar, but it's nothing that you can't do, and counting out loud can help so much. I've really noticed that a lot in my individual lessons teaching at the Bowling Green Rock Band Academy. A lot of the times what we think is the right timing when we're just, you know, thinking we're inside our own heads is not what's actually happening. But when we start to count out loud as we play, you're gonna gain a new awareness of your timing and what's working and what's not. All right, I'm going to talk about the chord progression now, the order of the chords. Some things to do here. As we talk through this, you might want to write it down. This is a very, very chordy song, especially for you know, bluegrass and fiddle tune standards. So writing it down can help you memorize it. Another thing to do is going to be to listen a lot and kind of trace the shape of the chords, or even think of the chord names as you're hearing them. You can do this with TuneFox. You'll have an easy visual reference. But eventually, once you have the chord progression memorized, thinking through those chords as you listen to maybe some versions of this tune that you enjoy, just listening to, you know, whatever streaming service you might happen to use, or on a record that you might happen to own. All right, this song has 2 sections, an A section and a B section. We're going to talk through the A section first. Measure 1, again, 2 beats per measure. We just got a G chord, then a D chord. Okay, measure 2 is going C to G. Right, measure 3 also is going C to G. And then measure 4 is going A to D. All right, measures 5, 6, and 7, guess what? They're all the same as measures 1, 2, and 3. So we're just going to go again, G, D, C, G, C, G. How we end it here is a little bit different in measure 8. We're going to go D, and then back home to G. That's the key that we're in. So we're finally resolving back to G. It's a great signal for the end of the section is when you resolve back to that root chord. All right, and you'd play through that section twice, and we'll have an example of that in the playthrough here soon. The B section, it's simpler because we're not switching chords as much, especially in the first half of it. We're just hanging on an E minor chord. But it can be so much tougher to keep track of the precise amount of times you need to play this E minor. And the way that you are going to play this with precision and accuracy is by doing some of the things I've suggested. Writing down the chord progression, listening a lot, and counting out loud, okay? So measure 9 here, we're going to strum the E twice for each measure, all right, okay? 1, 2, same thing for the next measure. 1, 2, same thing for the next measure. 1, 2, and then we go to B7. 1, 2, okay? So we strummed that E. We had 3 measures, strummed it twice per measure, so we had 6 strums before we reached that B7. All right, after the B7, we got 2 more measures of E minor. 1, 2, 1, 2, and then the last 2 measures are the same as the A section. We got C, G, D, back home to G, okay? And then the B section would repeat. Again, we'll go through that in the playthrough of just strums, and then we'll talk about adding in some different strum patterns so we can get a more authentic bluegrass and country feel to this thing here. All right, I'm going to play through each section really slowly once and just playing the chords because I think that's something important to try to get down before you start adding in all the boom chucks. And then I'll play through it normally at still a pretty slow speed, but I'll play through both sections twice as you will whenever you play back up on this tune. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. Again, that was just one time through the A section. Something to notice here was the first time through, use that normal way that most people play the G chord with the middle finger up here and the ring finger down here, first finger right there. The second time through, opted for this more maybe an old time way of playing it, where the ring finger is what's on your E string 3rd fret, and the pinky is down here on the first string 3rd fret. And you can see that this ring finger and this middle finger keep the same shape when going to this D chord, and then that same shape comes back up here to your C chord, and it makes for a really easy switch back to the G. Here we go, B section. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. Okay, so for every measure of E minor, we're not switching chords here for the first time. You know, in the A section, we're switching chords each measure. So this time we're going to strum that E minor twice, twice, 2 times each measure. So 1 and 2 and, right? So you end up strumming that 6 times in a row before you reach the B7 chord, which we strum twice, and then the E minor. We got 2 more measures, so 2 times per measure. We're going to strum it 4 times before we end it the same way that we did the A section. Okay, and normally we play each of these sections twice, and that's what I'm going to demo now at a more normal speed and incorporating some basic boom chuck rhythm. 1, 2, 1, 2. Alright, I did unfortunately slip in some extra stuff. Hopefully that's not going to throw you guys too bad. Mainly I'm just adding in the boom chuck rhythm. Some of the extra things I didn't really intend to do here. Played this 4-finger G, pretty common in a lot of modern bluegrass. You know, there's really basically 3 different ways most people play a G. Either this way, the normal way, or pinky down there on the E string like we talked about earlier. Makes for the easy switch to the C. And then this 4-finger G, kind of the rock and roll and hippie G, can make some switches a little bit easier and just sounds a little bit more powerful because it leaves out that B. It's just a different flavor of G right there. The other things I was doing a little bit extra, instead of just boom chuck, sometimes I was doing boom chucka. You can check out in the licks, and then I just added maybe a little walk here and there, and then was doing some alternating bass as well. So instead of just hitting the same note, we can add alternating bass. Again, that's something that you can explore in the licks here on TuneFox. Something to notice here, where we see these repeating patterns in the chord progression. If you've learned the lead, or if you haven't, you will notice that those phrases in the lead also repeat kind of in the same way. The first phrase, right, is the same as the third in the lead, just as the first 2 measures in the chord progression is the same as the 5th and the 6th, right? Which those 2 measures kind of constitute and make up a phrase. And it's going to repeat that same phrase. Okay, same thing for the B section too. First phrase is going to be the same as the third, and then the last phrase is the same in both sections. So after working through this chord progression, take a look at the lead, take a listen to the lead, and keep an eye out for what I'm talking about, where those phrases repeat and the chord changes kind of match up, right? Those same chord changes happen to match what's happening in the lead and to support that. Okay, so we talked about the chord progression, the order of chords. Now it's time to talk about some different strum patterns. The most common one in bluegrass is the boom chuck. Okay, that's where we're going to hit a bass note and then strum, right? So we'll talk about the boom chuck as we do it for each individual chord here. So for G, we just hit the low note there because it's a G note, and then strum. That's what we're doing with each chord, root strum for the basics. Right, the same would be true for any fingering of the G chord here. That's the basic boom chuck, okay? For D, we'd hit a D note, right? Open D string for C. It's that root on the A string. For the A7, open A, back to the D, okay? And you can check these out in the licks in TuneFox. For E minor, then open E. For B, it's that A string right there. So some things to think about with the boom chuck. As long as we're holding down the right chord notes and playing a note that's in the chord, there's a lot of options. There's not any super hard and fast rules. Usually we start with the root, but like I could play the A string note, right? Because I've got my chord note held down over here on my fret hand. So it just gives me an alternate sound. And you can mix that up. So that's something cool to experiment with, just even aside from Blackberry Blossom and playing the actual song, is making these different chord shapes. And just experiment with using some alternate notes in your bass for your boom with your chuck. There's a lot of just cool music you can make just by messing around with that. And if you check out the licks in TuneFox, you'll see some examples basically of that, alternating bass, right? Where we play one note and then a different note. Now there is some common patterns in country and bluegrass, usually where we go from the root to what's called the fifth of the chord, right? It's got a really particular sound. And on some of them you'll learn to even play some move out of the chord shape just slightly to get that fifth sound. Again, check out the licks. There's some examples of that. Something else to think about for the chuck part of this, 3 to 4 strings is all you really need. Don't try to strum all the strings. It's going to sound super messy. Also, should definitely mention timing here. So where we're counting 2 per measure, basically you'll have 2 boom chucks per measure. So we're going to do 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and, right? So you'll be able to clearly hear that in the playthrough. Some of the other licks we can check out here, we've got some bluegrass strum patterns. That's a cool one. What I'm basically doing is boom, chuck, and then leaving out my next chuck, and then I've got a up, down, up. Boom, chuck, up, down, up. Boom, chuck, a chuck, a boom, chuck, a chuck, a boom, chuck. So that'll work really good on the B part because we need a whole measure for that strum pattern. You can kind of do it in the A part, but it works a lot better when we just stay on the same chord for the whole measure. So the B part, that can sound pretty cool. Some more licks to check out, the walks. So we just got some really simple walks, and this is just where we play, a few notes on our low strings that lead the listener's and player's ear to the next chord. We're not gonna have a lot of those in the A section because we're switching chords so much. We could do them, but it's like you basically have to play a solo right there. I want to show you guys just the more simple walks that are just simple, solid, and like I said, lead people's ears from one chord to another. So we're gonna do more of these, like turning around to the A part or going into the B part or just the B part itself. So let's say we're getting ready to end the A part. Right, just those 2 notes, G, F sharp, really leads your ear to that E chord. Again, search through those licks, there's some options. All right, here's a little bit more practice advice. I've already talked about the benefits of listening, right? Listening with TuneFox and listening to some recorded versions of this you like and trying to listen actively. Think about what's happening in the chord changes. Also, keep an ear out for some of these licks and techniques that I'm talking about, like the boom chuck. Try to keep an ear out for that, or some walks. Just noticing that they're happening is a step in the right direction for developing your ear. Focus on measures that have chord changes in the same measure. So for example, like measure 1 has a G to D switch. At first, just using focus in TuneFox or just in general, like focus on that measure for a while and practice your G to D switch. After that becomes easy, try to practice your boom chuck with just that measure. Practice until it's easy and try to practice at a level that's achievable. Don't try to go too fast, too soon. So do that with other measures that have chord changes in this thing, like your C to G. Right? If you get really good with your C to G switch, that happens a lot in this song, so you'll be prepared for it. Some other ones, we got the A to D7, that would be one to work on. And again, I'm jumping in here with a boom chuck, but if you need to, you should start out just making that chord switch. And you may have to do this out of time at first, like slow, painstakingly, making sure each finger's in the right place, then strum it. Slow, painstakingly, making sure each finger's in the right place, then strumming. Sometimes that's just where you are and that's just where you need to start. That's okay. So work on those measures with those chord switches first, then start to try to incorporate your boom chuck. And from there, check out the licks to where you can add in some more embellished strum patterns and walks. Definitely try to master those licks in the same way we talked about focusing on a measure. Be able to play it repeatedly before you try to add it in. And you may need to loop 2 measures in this case. Right, but master a small piece instead of, playing through the whole song and then kicking yourself in the butt when you missed, this one little lick in the middle of the song. That's kind of an inefficient way to practice. Some other general playing advice here. Good rhythm is not necessarily loud rhythm. Kind of like an even volume, medium volume with nice even tone is something good to shoot for. So make sure you're not squeezing your pick too tight with your pick hand, right? There should be a little bit of maybe wobble in that pick. We're going to use some arm motion and usually a little bit of forearm rotation, like you're trying to open a door or something like that, And not too much excess motion here, but it's kind of relaxed. I'm not squeezing really hard. I'm not only moving from the elbow. It's just kind of loose and fluid there. So you can practice that slow just by raking up and down. Be careful about what I'm doing right here. We don't want to over-exaggerate the forearm rotation as we strum through. And we don't want to necessarily turn this way every time we go up. Just pay really close attention to my pick hand in the playthrough. That'll be a good example. And also, as you watch your favorite guitarists on YouTube or live or just wherever, study the way that their hands move, especially the pick hand. You can learn a lot just from intensely watching someone and thinking about the way that they're moving. That's about it for this rhythm rundown for Blackberry Blossom. If you have learned anything new, whether it's just a single chord shape or a strum pattern, anything here, give yourself a pat on the back. Learning new stuff is hard. Getting outside the box is hard. And as far as chord progressions go in instrumental tunes, fiddle tunes, and the bluegrass world, this is a tough one. It's just a lot of changes. It's sort of like a benchmark for players as they progress through the trials of becoming a bluegrass guitar player. So again, you want to memorize the chord shapes, memorize the chord progression, and some of these basic patterns, practice listening. And after you get this down, after you do have it memorized, try to play along with some of the lead versions that we have in TuneFox. That way you can control your tempo. And it's really good to play along with the simple straight up leads so you can hear how those lead notes are tied into and match up with this chord progression. So after you memorize this, try playing along with the basic bluegrass version or just the bluegrass version. Any of this stuff is going to be good to associate your ear with the melody and the chords. Making that connection can be something that really boosts your memory and helps you be really musical. And it also sort of gives you like these landmarks that help keep you on the path of playing this with the right rhythm, the right changes in the right order. Next step beyond that, if you learn the lead, work on playing the lead once and then playing the rhythm, and then playing the lead and then playing the rhythm. You can do this with TuneFox as it loops around. And if you can do that without kind of taking a break, without taking a pause, you're basically jamming and you're ready to play this, with other people. That's a really good way to test yourself. If you can play through the chords, and then go into the melody, you are more than ready to play this at a jam, or at least to try it. All right, that's all we got on this one. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it helped. Keep picking. Stay tuned.